How's it going, everybody? Doing a whispering ramble here today, no gum, about paranormal stuff and kind of creatures and whatnot. I don't think I've ever done like a full ramble on this before on my channel. Maybe I have. I know I've done the creepy story thing here and there, and have talked about paranormal stuff, but I don't think I've done a dedicated ramble to it. And I was chatting with ASMR with Bex about paranormal stuff and the like, and figured I'd want to I give a shot on this channel. I was thinking about putting it on my other channel, and I still might do it if I start up a Patreon. Maybe I'll do paranormal related things on there as well as other things, but figured I'd show it on here. There's no gum, so the views are gonna be low, but see, how it likes and comments. But I don't have any like experiences. There was one time I did think it involves an animal. I was walking into the woods and back in Massapequa. This is a while ago. Like, I forget the name of that woods. It's not Croons, but it's part of like the whatever woods that. There's like a trail that goes up from Massapequa to Cold Spring Harbor. If you know New York or Long Island, you'll know those towns. But Massapequa's on the south shore, then Cold Spring Harbor up north. It's a bike path and walking path, and then there's like woods there too. It's not crazy woods or anything, but there's like little wooded paths. But anyway, I was walking into the one entrance in Massapequa off of, I forget the road now, Van Buren maybe, and like I was pretty close, and like something dark across it almost looked like it was a dog. And I was like right there, and I like looked to where it ran, and there was like nothing even there, like no signs that it would have ran through there. I thought that was a little weird, but probably was nothing. It probably was an actual dog, and just whatever. But I've heard people's stories about it, before and stuff like that. People I know and shit. I've never really had any experiences like that, but it's always intriguing and interesting to me. All of it, I watch a lot of the channels, not the channels, the paranormal shows. Now, a lot of the ghost shows are obviously just full of shit, right? Anytime there's editing involved and stuff, like, and there's a crew, you look at here's the credits, it's like, dude, I can't, you're trying to draw in viewers and stuff, I can't trust it. And a lot of it's seeing is believing, right? But I still do enjoy them. Some I like more. I like the ones more where it's like they do the kind of reenactments, and whether or not these end up being true or not, some of them sure are. It's similar to the creepy stories you listen to on YouTube. Some of them are most likely real. Some of them are definitely made up. Like ones that are so in detail, where they know exactly what was every word that was said by every person in this story, and every little detail. Like, I tend to believe the ones that there'll be details and stuff, but they're kind of shorter, and not everything's like, crystal clear to what happened. And I'm not talking about something that happened like a week ago. They'll be talking about stuff that happened 20 years ago, And I understand if it was something that affected you, you would still remember a lot of it, but not like exact conversations you were having down to every word. But anyway, I like watching the reenactment ones where somebody's telling their story, and then you see a reenactment of it. Those I tend to believe more so. Of course, those could be made up as well, but not everybody's full of shit, right? And it's always like, oh man, not to say you want to experience something, but I think there's always like an interest, I think I could have sworn like years ago I did not like it wasn't like a actual ghost hunting thing, but like I think we went to a place, but I can't fully remember. See, speaking of old times, and I can't remember much of any of it. But not going in, like I've never gone. It would be cool to go in with a recorder and stuff, and a little camera or something. And now everybody's phones are cameras, but it'd be cool to kind of do a little ghost hunting thing, right? I know they make all these things, and they have new machines. Somebody's always designing some machine. You always see them on these shows. And like some of them, they're like obnoxiously annoying. It's just a bunch of noise. And then random little things come in words. Me personally, I don't, that kind of stuff, I don't trust it. I watch a lot of debunking channels too on here. Not as much as I did last year. But they'll go and debunk the way you can screw with these things and how they're picking up signals from other things and stuff like that. Other like electronic equipment that could be in the area or whatnot. And stuff. For me, it's more, you're going in, recorder in hand, and even stuff that recorders can make noises internally and stuff too. But recorder, you got a camera, a flashlight, you're just kind of there experiencing it yourself and not like weird devices and stuff, you know. To me, a lot of that stuff, I'm more about like, you're going in there with your own two eyes. You got maybe a camcorder. You got your recording device and stuff. I think, to me, the minimal stuff, kind of minimalistic stuff, is more up my alley, not going in there. Because, on the shows, they're going in with, like, they got the camera guys, and did you see that over there? And they're pointing the other fucking way. They're never, like, they're never right on it. It's so ridiculously annoying. And I was into those shows. Like, I was more like, especially Ghost Hunters when it first aired. Like, I was like, oh my god. And then I think the one dude was Grant, got caught doing something with his jacket and shit, and he disappeared off the show. And then Jay went with some of the other guys that were on the show. Steve, one of their names was Tango, I think. And then I think they're doing a thing now, and I think Grant might be doing the Ghost Hunters again. I don't know. There's so many of them now. They're everywhere. I like the ones that are kind of... And once again, of course, anything can be faked, right? That's why seeing is believing. Now, I don't think everybody's full of shit, obviously. I think a lot are, because there's financial gain involved. Once this is involved, you're like, okay, here we go. Now, I know there's a lot of paranormal groups throughout the country, throughout the world, for that matter. Because a lot of the debunking stuff is actually in the UK that I watched. There's a guy, what is his name? Beardo Gets Scared, I believe it is. He does a lot of debunking, but he also does his own research as well. But he's very, I don't want to say skeptical, but he's very like, you're trying to weed out people that are full of shit, maybe taking advantage of people that are grieving and stuff as well. He's one. Oh, there's another guy here. He has a couple channels. One's a gameplay channel. I watch his gameplay channel too. John Wolf, maybe his name is, or T Wolf, John T Wolf. He does them too. People, I like the debunking ones too, because you see these things and then you're like, oh yeah, like you're more in tune to things. And then there's other ones where people are like, okay, I can't debunk this. Is it real? I don't know, but you can't like come up with a reason why something could have happened and stuff. But I like the vids where like something kind of happens and the person doesn't even really knows it's happening. Like, and they put up a video and there's no big hoopla, and that's the only video you get of it. It's never brought up again. Something could have, at least that's more believable to me. And I'm not even saying, like, you can't fake it, but kind of let people know, like, maybe this isn't all real. Because it's still entertaining at the very least. But that's why, like I said, seeing is believing to me. But I believe the people I know, when they tell me the stories, there is no gain for them. They're not putting videos up of it. They're not recording it. It's just something that happens. And they tell you about it. And you're like, all right, I'm gonna tend to believe that too, because there's no hoopla, there's no bullshit around. There's no, oh, here's the video, And even after stuff has happened, they didn't just start recording stuff. They kind of just dealt with it, or whatever. And the funny thing is, when we got here in this house, there's tons of noise in this house, but it's just noises. Like, you step on the wood here, you're going to hear noise out in the kitchen. You probably heard it in videos when I'm doing the Christmas videos, Halloween video, showing things, and I'm walking around our house tour. There's parts of the house where you step on the floor and it's just crack, crack, crack throughout the whole fucking house. At first it was like annoying. You're like, here we go. And it's not like I'm scared. It's more like, dude, this is annoying. Like, if this is a ghost, dude, stop being annoying, you know? But you hear a lot of like crying. You're just like, okay, whatever, dude. It's house. So much of it is just houses forever settling, you know? But, you know, like, but I like hearing people's stories about it because I'm like, oh man. Part of me's like, you know, you want to experience it and you don't at the same time. But you're like, yeah, this is something like, you know, that to me, it's like, I like hearing people's stories. I remember hearing one. This is I got back in 2009. I'm not going to say names or anything, but they were saying how, like, yeah, they had an experience where, like, I think it was when their grandparents had just passed, and they sat in a specific seat on the couch, and nobody was sitting there that day. And, like, the couch was fine. There was no groove in it or anything. And I guess the family was over and nobody was sitting in that seat. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, like 5 people saw this. Like, the seat, like the cushion just literally pushed down. It was like, whoosh. Like, hey, grandfather was, I think it was one, I don't know if it was grandfather, sat down and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, wow, yeah, cool. And I tend to believe him. Why are you going to, that's the thing. When someone's telling you a story and there's no motivation behind it, out of any kind of fame gain, financial gain, I tend to believe that more. You know, I'm like, yeah, okay, like, oh shit. And then other stories about, you know, dishes falling over, coming out of cabinets and stuff, and things breaking that you can't, they weren't just, oh, you know, they didn't just, like, they weren't on the edge of something, it just kind of like whoosh, slid off. You know, a flat surface was just like, you know, I've heard a lot of stuff. And those are the ones I tend to believe, you know, more so than here's me on camera showing shit. But then there's videos where you see this stuff and you're like, my God, this is, I'm not whispering the full thing on here as always. It's so hard for me to maintain whispers. I don't know why I used to be able to do it so much more. I think I get so laid back and natural, I start to go into my regular soft-spoken voice. And then you have the creatures, the cryptid stuff, which is always interesting. Bigfoot's obviously the big one. And those shows, too. They've been searching for Bigfoot for 4 freaking years, and they still have no compelling evidence. You know, like, it's like, listen, I understand. And listen, for me personally, I would think there is a Bigfoot out there somewhere. This country, Canada, Mexico, somewhere in Europe, wherever in the world. I'm not going to deny there probably is. And here's the thing. There could be people that just have been living in the wilderness for centuries. And they've been breeding. And they've just grown more hair. Maybe they evolved to like, well, they're not living in houses and stuff. So they've just like grown hair as a form of, you know, like a lot of thick hair, like a werewolf almost. And they're living out in the woods and caves, the deep woods, especially in the U.S., like, the country's huge. There's spaces these things could be where you'd never find them. And they might have, you know, avoided people and stuff. And are just good at it. But those shows are so ridiculous. Like, they're always like, quiet. They hear a sound. And everybody's just then, after they hear a sound, everybody's like, quiet, quiet, quiet. For like 10 minutes, just saying quiet to each other. While like, well, now I really can't hear the sound. Because you guys won't stop talking. You know? But you know, I would believe something's out there. It might not even be somebody a Bigfoot creature that's 8 feet tall. It could be someone that's 5 feet tall. Just they're covered in more hair and stuff. They've been out there for centuries, hundreds of years, and they've just been breeding. And they're in the deep, deep woods, and civilization has not gotten there yet. And it's not just here. There's other huge countries, China, Russia, you know, that are massive countries. Canada is huge. You know, like. There's places people still have not been that, hey, maybe some kind of people have, you know, evolved over the years and been, you know. I'm always down for, too, UFOs especially, like, I am always down to hear it. Tell me your UFO stories, like, and even still, like, even if I'm a skeptic, I'm not going to be like, fuck you, you're full of shit. I wouldn't say that to somebody telling me a story. I'm not that kind of person, because I'm not, who's for me to tell you, you know. like I said, especially when there's no gain involved. Once there's like a gain involved, or look, I make a ton of money. My profession is ghost hunter on the television. Like, think about that for a second. Like, no, you're an entertainer. You know, like, I want the bare bones stuff. Like, if it was a show with people just going to places, and that was it, minimal types of equipment, no big camera crews. Well, that's what Guy and Ghost Adventures stays Zach Bagans. No big camera crews. And then that. I used to love that show. It's still entertaining as shit. He's always getting possessed every 5 minutes. And then Nick Groff was on the show for a bit. And then he was on the show for a while, actually. It was him, Aaron, and Zach. I don't know if Aaron's still on the show or not. He had some shit where his like ex-wife, or maybe they were still married at the time, like hired a hitman to kill him and stuff. Like, it was really legitimately messed up things. But Zach would like get possessed, but then like Nick would like get possessed, and Zach's like, no, I gotta one up him. I'm getting possessed twice now. He's always telling him like spirits, he wants to fight them and shit's just like so. But at first, this is like my intense whisper. I'm getting into it here. I should be talking about this kind of shit all the time because it's very interesting to me. The fake stuff and the real stuff. It's just all of the whole net of the umbrella of paranormal things. They start off, like even first Ghost Adventures, they start off so much more grounded to where it's almost more believable. Same thing with Ghost Hunters would go into places all the first few seasons, and there would rarely be any activity of note. And they would always come up with like, they'd be like, no, we think this is that. They were always kind of debunking stuff. And then like Sci-Fi, I think they were on Sci-Fi. Sci-Fi, they're like, listen, no. You're going to say this shit's real because we ain't getting ratings unless it's real, And then all of a sudden, they're fucking seeing things more often and sounds and everything else. And then they get fake. Most Haunted, the one in the UK, this one, like, notoriously got caught doing shit. I remember the woman was like, I don't know why the guy was filming her at the time. She's like making a noise like, and then she's like, did you hear that noise on camera? You see her doing the noise. I was like, wow. I think that show's long gone off the air. That one was on. That was an early one too. That was a UK one. There was another guy. There was a guy that like, and they always do there's always like offshoots of each show. Like people go their own way. There's like usually like 4 or 5 people in the crew, and then they do their own thing. It's like the same 5 people have 20 shows. There's so many of them too. Like there's so many paranormal shows. Like back when it was Ghost Hunters, Ghost Adventures, and Most Haunted was on around that time too. I believe maybe even before. It was very kind of niche, and then it got exploded, and it's still going strong too. Whether you believe it or not, it's still, all over the place. It's like Paranormal State, I think was one. There was, Nick Groff has a few other ones after he left Ghost Adventures. It was like, and then they were always at each other's throats afterwards. Like, yeah, dude, like this is just more bullshit. Like, all of a sudden it's like, yeah, who's the biggest grifter type thing, like, the biggest con. They would also do like this is turning into more of a rambling. Like I said, I don't have my own experiences outside of that thing. Like we used to use the Ouija board, me and my friends when we were kids, but we would be doing stuff with it on purpose. Like, oh my god, like I think it was like something happens, give us a sign, and my friend had like a few little pebbles on the top of his hat, and then he would go like this, and they'd fall off. And it was dark in the room. We'd do it in like my friend's shed in the backyard. And it was like, stuff like that. Not everybody was in on it, so everybody else was like, what the hell? But we did use the Ouija board at least 4 or 5 times back then. This is probably when I was like 7th, 8th grade, something like that. Maybe even before. Might have even still. You go to Toys R Us and buy a Ouija board. But then it's like, like the mediums and all that shit, and how many of them, a lot of them are full of shit. They take advantage of people. I talked about that thing I saw in Salem where the guy did his whole show, And even I was like, because when it comes to mediums and stuff, I'm a little more skeptical. And I was like, wow, man, this is all holy shit. And then the guy was just like, it's all bullshit. He had people in the crowd that were plants that would come up and do stuff. And then he was showing what he would do and how he'd do things. And then he has a thing in the background on the screen of all these fake mediums that were arrested for like taking advantage of people and conning people out of money and stuff. It was interesting. And I can't remember what the guy's name was or what the thing was called. But the UFO stuff, especially, you tell me UFO shit, I'm like, dude, yes, there's definitely life in other galaxies. Totally, like that's the one even more so than ghosts, where I'm immediately like, yes, that I'm 100% behind. Tell me your UFO encounter, please. Now I will say, I think it was Neil deGrasse Tyson said this, and I tend to agree with this. It's like when people say, oh, I saw an alien, and it's just like has 2 legs, 2 arms. It just looks a little different, like. They have the shapes you see on TV, the gray aliens and stuff. But like he said, he's like, if there are aliens out there, they would look like something we probably couldn't even comprehend or think of. And part of me's like, you know what? That's probably true. Because everybody's saying they're seeing aliens and they're looking like stuff like, like I'm thinking like something crazy. That movie Nope. Was it called Nope? The one with the Cryptid? By Jordan Peele. I like that movie because the Cryptid was so bizarre looking, where I was like, yeah, this is what I'm talking about. It's like a weird sheet. It was so weird the way this thing looked. And I was like, yeah, the shit would be weird like that from another planet or something. It would be, you'd almost wouldn't know. You'd be like, oh my God. But I do believe in like the UFO stuff and people I believe in that stuff abducted. But once again, who am I to tell you you're lying if you said it looked like this, right? But I would be like, but hey, maybe they're coming from these planets, galaxies where they kind of look like us, or they're similar, similar features. Why not? Why not? All that stuff. I can go on and on about this shit, but I kind of wanted to do a little bit of a ramble. I don't know, like I said, I don't have my own experiences, but I would like to kind of, should even in the woods here, man, set up a little camera or something. When we did the haunted house in Pennsylvania at Penhurst, there's another like building you can go to afterwards, which has like almost a museum for the asylum or whatever. And you can go into a part of it where it's very quiet and you can kind of listen for stuff. It's kind of like you can go in there and do your own little ghost hunting. We did that, and I was very quiet. Just went in there, didn't have my camera on, my phone on or anything. Just kind of listen to stuff. Nothing happened or anything, but I would love to do like a ghost hunting thing and just kind of get in there. Real bare bones though, just kind of go in there and want to experience something. Like I don't need to, I can tell people about it. I'm not interested in like, maybe recording it, sure, but not even, fuck it. Just go in there and if I experience something, tell people. You believe me or you don't, right? That's fine. I want to go in there and just experience it. Maybe a recorder, right? But I want to go in there and kind of experience the stuff. Just as I am. No equipment. Being as quiet as possible. I love that stuff. If anybody has any stories, you can just leave me a comment. You have one because that would be a long-winded comment, I'm sure, to tell somebody their stories. But the UFO stuff and the creature stuff always too as well. I'll talk about the creatures here briefly. If anybody wants to hear more of this with gum or whatever, let me know because I would gladly do this. I might do it on my other channel too, just to kind of spice up that channel a little bit. But like not necessarily werewolves, but like Bigfoot, the was it the chupacabra, certain things. The Mothman's always a big one and stuff. Is that stuff true? Hey, you never know. But there was one I watched this show on TV. They have a lot of these, it's people's experiences too, right? And then they reenact it. I forget what the thing was called. It was up in. They called it I forget what triangle they called it. I want to say it was in Massachusetts, as everybody lives in this area. Oh, what is it? The something triangle. I gotta look it up. Oh, I'm gonna have to look it up. Because at least from this show, I don't know if this is a real thing. Anybody who lives in Massachusetts, let me know. I think one of the places was like Rehoboth, the towns. I don't know if I'm saying that wrong or misremembering it. Like Bermuda Triangle disappearances and stuff. All that stuff. I can go on and on. I'm not going to on this one, but yes, Paranormal Triangle, Massachusetts. What's it called? The Bridgewater Triangle. That's the name of the movie, too. Or the documentary. 200 square mile area in southeastern Massachusetts. Paranormal hotspot with UFO sightings, cryptids, ghosts, strange lights. Bermuda Triangle, too, like boats. I remember I read a book that was so creepy when I was younger. It was something, you know, it's a lot of the stories you recognize, like the fighter planes that just disappeared. They're on radio and all of a sudden they're gone. You can't find them. They searched everywhere in the ocean where they got the last signal and stuff. You can't find anything, you know. That kind of shit. It's just really, to me, it's like really like. That was creepy. There was one, I forget what it was. It involved like a plane crash. It was really, I can't remember the name of that book. It was so long ago. I was a kid. It was so freaking creepy. Yeah, like, you know, a lot of towns and stuff, they have all the same urban legends, right? The car would turn the lights off, and even in here in Asheboro, they were telling stuff. We did the Halloween trolley tour. They're telling stories where they're like, yeah, the car comes up behind you close and speeds past, and there's no one driving, stuff like that. And you're like, yeah, every town I feel like has this, you know. We had them on Long Island. There's places like Mary's Grave and Sweet Hollow Road. You park your car underneath this bridge, and then you can't start it. You got to push it out, and then it starts again. Stuff like, these are everywhere in the world, not just here in the U.S. Everywhere, you know, these urban legends are everywhere. And then there's unique ones to places as well. I was gonna say out here as if I'm still there. Duh. On Long Island, you had the Montauk. What was it called? Camp Hero or something? Is that what it's called? There's been tons of stuff on that where they were doing experiments on people and stuff. Like for the military was doing stuff on like people. Like, I think Stranger Things kind of borrowed some stuff from that. I think I could be wrong. I think it's Camp Hero. Yep. They were doing stuff like just like telekinesis type shit. Because it was a coastal defense, World War II coastal defense, and a Cold War radar station. Conspiracy theorists suggesting government mind control, time travel, alien experiments. And a lot of people talk about like and this is a bigger thing where a lot of people talk about. They've been talking about that for years. The Camp Hero site, the radar dish thing, and it's still there, I believe. Like underground bunkers are out there, I believe, and stuff. And they were like mind control stuff for like weapons of war type shit. Like, which sure, why not, man? You can experiment on humans. They do it to everything, animals, to humans as well. You know, you can do this stuff, can screw people's minds. There was a great X-Files episode where I think it was they were Vietnam War veterans, and the people did experiments on them where they never had to sleep. They never slept. I think Tony Todd was in the episode. He was a guest star. But they just did this thing on them so they can go around and like do assassinations and stuff whenever these people just never had to sleep anymore. But the one guy was taking out the other people that were in the unit that did the stuff on him because of what they had done and shit. But yeah, who's to say they're not doing shit, man? Definitely. And that all is under that same paranormal and umbrella. That goes to conspiracy theory as well. But you know, that stuff all is it's interesting. It's creepy and scary. And you know, of course, a lot of it is probably bullshit. But there's nuggets of truth in all that stuff, right? You know. There's nuggets of truth in the litter box. You just gotta sift through it. You know. I think that's why I like doing the shady type bits with that weird stuff, because it's so interesting to me. You know, why not? Why the fuck not, man? Especially, I mean, so much could be in the mind, too. I mean, the human mind. Come on, man. You know, it's endless to an extent, right? What do they say? We're only using like 2% of our brains and stuff. Like, you know, like, who the hell knows? I mean, I have my own theories. Maybe I'll talk that another video. This is a starter vid, about 30 minutes here. I'll go for a few more. And if anybody's interested in hearing more about this stuff, or my, I don't say real opinions, but like my theories on things, let me know, because I love doing it. But if no one's interested, I'll still probably do it on my other channel. And I'll probably still maybe do it on a Patreon thing, but you know, like, it's just entertaining, and it's interesting, and it's creepy. It's kind of scary too to think about some of that stuff, man. You know, the Men in Black and shit with the Area 51 stuff and all that stuff. You know, and all ghost stories. Like I mean, some you know, like it's just it's you know, like I said though, seeing is believing. You know, that's when you're like, okay, and it doesn't mean you can't believe people, but like when you really, that's when I think you're 100% on board. You know, when you have your own experience. Now, I'd rather have a ghost experience than a UFO experience, I think. Depends on what they're doing, I guess. But who's to say they haven't come here? You know, like I said, I'll do theories on UFOs and humans. Maybe in another video if anybody's interested in that. But yeah, it's and like I said, I was getting like worked up. I get excited talking about this kind of stuff, and I didn't even really go super in depth in this. I kind of went on the shows a lot on the shows and stuff first, and then some stuff. But I can maybe go a little deeper if people want to see another one with gum. I can do gum chewing next time. The problem is there's no gum here, so it probably won't view well, and then it's like no one's gonna see it. But if I get a lot of likes compared to views and comments and stuff, that's also a nice indicator that you guys want to see more. But I love that kind of shit, man. It's just so interesting. It's I don't know. There's something about it. I like watching the Mothman stuff. I'll watch the Mothman, and I think there's like the Florida Grass Man or something. It's not a weed dealer. Something else. There's a lot. Like I said, that's the thing. There's a lot of offshoots to Bigfoot, but they call him the Hairy Man here, and he's the Moss Man here and stuff. Like every region of the country, and I can go. Like I said, and if you guys are from other countries too, let me know your things. I know in like Scotland, you have the Loch Ness Monster. There's a place in New York where it's upstate where it's similar to. I think it's called. What is he called? Chappie or something? That's up in a lake. I think it's the lake that actually is in the New York, and it's in. Is it Vermont that's next to New York? No, is it Vermont that's next to New York? God, I always get Vermont and New Hampshire confused. It's Vermont, I'm pretty sure, right? That's next to New York. I need to. I always get those two confused. New Hampshire, like which one's on which side, which is next to Maine and which is next to New York. It's Vermont. Vermont is the one that's next to New York. Come on, you stupid thing. Yep, that's Vermont. So I was right. But there's one up there. I forget. They have video things on that too. I think if you have a sighting, you like put your name down. It's like a board of people. There's another person I know that said he saw them when he was a kid. He saw I don't know. Is it called Chappie? I need to look. I'll look this up real quick and then I will end it. Was it Chappie? No, it isn't Chappie, I don't think. Upstate New York. What was this thing called? Why can't I remember the name of it? Sea creature. Why can't I remember the name? Not the Montauk one. Champ. Not Chappie, that's the movie. Champ. Lake Champlain it's in. Now is Lake Champlain, is that the one that borders them both? It's a big lake. Yes, it is the one that borders Vermont and New York, I believe. It's in both states. But yeah, like that's another one where people put the thing down and stuff. But anyway, if anybody wants to see more of this, let me know. I will talk more about this stuff and give my own theories and opinions on things and whatnot. But anyway, yeah.